Hey guys, welcome to Bridie Bakes. Today I'm going to give you a bit of an intro into some piping basics so that you can make sure your cupcake game is strong. One awesome thing about cupcakes is that you don't need as many things. So when I'm making cakes, I've got my turntables and scrapers and smoothers, but with cupcakes, pretty much just got my cupcakes and buttercream, some piping bags, and some nozzles, and that'll do. So my first tip when it comes to piping cupcakes is to make sure you've got some nice smooth buttercream. Buttercream tends to fill up with air bubbles a bit if it's left sitting, so the first thing I do is give it a nice good mix to make sure it's smooth. Another thing to keep in mind is the consistency. So if it's too runny, it's not going to hold in all the nice patterns that we're piping, but if it's too thick, it's going to be a bit tricky to squeeze it out of the piping bag. Now that we've given our icing a good mix, the first thing we need to do is fill up our piping bag. To do this, I'm going to take my piping bag and snip off the end. Drop in my nozzle. This one's a Loyal 1B, but there are so many different types you can use. Now, whenever I'm filling up my piping bags, I never try and hold it and fill it at the same time because I am guaranteed to make a mess. So what I'm going to do instead is grab a glass or a jug or some kind of vessel and use that to hold my piping bag for me. So I can just pop it in there, and now I'm going to fold over the edges because we don't want to make a mess around here. Now I'm going to pop my icing in, and when I'm doing this, I don't want to overfill it because that means it might splurt out the end. And also, the heat from your hands can start melting it, and we don't want that. So just plop some dollops in. And then once we've got our icing in, we're going to fold up the edges of the bag and give it a bit of a twist at the top. And that twist is going to stop any icing coming out the end. Now when you're holding your piping bag, it's a good idea to have a bit of a play around and find a way that works for you. I actually hold it really weirdly, almost like a bit of a claw grip, but that's what works for me. But however you're holding it, you just want to make sure you have a grip on that twist so that it doesn't come undone and make a mess. And we also want to make sure that that twist is nice and tight on our icing because that's going to help with our pressure. Now when it comes to actually piping, there are lots of different patterns that you can make. One main one that you'll see on cupcakes is a rosette. So for the rosette, you're going to start with your tip in the middle of your cupcake, hovering just slightly above it, and then slowly spiral out to the edge. Now you want to make sure that you're using a nice even pressure so that you get a lovely smooth rosette. It's not until you get to the very outside, the last little bit of your rosette, that you want to start easing off the pressure, stop squeezing, and pull away, and that'll give you a nice tail. So starting in the middle of your cupcake, so applying pressure and spiraling around and starting to pull away. Now that I've done that one, I can feel that my piping bag's a little bit loose, so I'm just going to retwist and readjust my grip so that it's nice and firm and taut. The next style that I'm going to show you is another swirl, but this time we're starting from the outside and we're going to be going up a little bit, almost like a bit of a mountain. When some people are doing this, they start with a blob in the middle and then swirl up around that. I tend to find that that's a bit too much buttercream for me, so I just start on the outside and work my way up. So again, I'm going to hover just above my cupcake, but this time starting on an outer edge and slowly squeeze and go around. When I get back to where I started, I'm just going to start climbing up the previous rings of buttercream. The next style that I'm going to show you is a bit of a squiggle or a snake. So for this one, I'm going to move my piping bag left and right while I go from the front to the back of the cupcake. Now your squiggles are going to be shorter at the front and back and wider in the middle to follow the shape of the cupcake. So starting at the front, squeezing nice even pressure as we go back and forth, and then release the pressure and pull off. And lucky last, I don't even know if there's a name for this pattern, but we're pretty much going to be doing some splodges. So if you're using a jagged tip like this, it's going to give you little star shapes, or you can get little dots by using a round tip. For this one, I like to start dotting around the edges and then I can fill in the middle when I'm done. So I'm gonna have my piping bag nice and straight up and down. I'm gonna put a little bit of pressure, stop the pressure, and pull up. And then just make my way around doing that. Once I've done a ring around the outside, I can get a bit of an idea if I want to do just one more dot in the middle, or if there's a bit more room, I might want to do 3. For this one, I'm just going to do 1. You can also keep piping more dollops on top and make a little mound, but I'm going to leave it like that. Now that you've got some spectacularly gorgeous cupcakes, you can decorate them however you'd like. Sprinkles are always a winner, or edible flowers, or chocolate shapes, or you can just leave them as they are. And if you're wanting to practice your piping, you can always have a go at doing it on a silicone mat, so that once you've had a try, you can scrape it all back up and do it again. I hope you found this video useful to make some awesome cupcakes, and don't forget to like my video and subscribe to my channel if you're keen to see more.